This conference will now be recorded.
She is, all right, it's 7 o'clock. That was the notice. 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the meeting to order. March 6th, DeSoto City Council meeting. We'll start with roll call, please.
Tripp.
Here.
Daniels.
Here.
Hannah Michael.
Here.
Mike Morin.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
All council members are present today.
Okay, I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item tonight is a proclamation proclaiming March as Youth Art Month in DeSoto. Whereas art education develops students' creative problem-solving and critical thinking abilities, and whereas art education teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities, and whereas art education gives students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs, and whereas our national leaders have acknowledged the necessity of including arts experiences in all students' education, now therefore I, Rick Walker, Mayor of the City of DeSoto, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Youth Art Month and urge all citizens to support school programs for the arts for children and youth. Do we have some representatives that would like to receive the proclamation in attendance? All right. Edgar, did you get that with the city seal and signature? Yeah. All right. Well, step on up here, Diane. All right. You have to take a picture with
Oh,
me.
no.
If you want the piece of paper, you have to take a picture with me.
Came out of nowhere. Did I come up to his waist? Barely.
Yeah. All right, our next item on the agenda tonight is our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approved minutes from the February 20th City Council meeting, approved pay ordinance number 992, approved contract with Blue Valley Public Safety. I'm going to back up because I'm not reading the letters. There's so many items I need to get the letters in there. Item A, approved minutes from the February 20th City Council meeting. Item B, approved pay ordinance number 992. Item C, approved contract with Blue Valley Public Safety, Inc. for storm siren warning system. Item D, approve agreement with Sunflower Redevelopment, LLC for the sewer benefit development. Item E, approve waterline transfer agreement with Panasonic. Item F, accept easements from Panasonic for public water mains. Item G, approve contracts for engineering services with HDR and Burns & McDonnell for the analysis of water and wastewater services. And item H, approve mayor's recommendation for appointments to the DeSoto Planning Commission. Is there any item on the consent agenda that anyone would wish to remove from the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, are we ready to make a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Hannah Michael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Tripp.
Yes.
Mike Morin.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item 2 is call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on this agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during this meeting. There is a 4-minute time limit. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Council. I I'm also have Leanne Combs here, our president, and Sue Wasson. She's our past president from the DeSoto Garden Club. And on behalf of the DeSoto Garden Club, we'd like to present for consideration the purchase of 4 large watering planters that you have got in front of you to help beautify the downtown area. We're proposing 3 downtown. We haven't got the exact location determined yet. That can depend on some of the owners or where we place them. But our goal as the DeSoto Garden Club is to assist and partner with the city in beautifying the town we all love. Our first partnership project with the city was planting and maintaining the beds around the horse sculptures, which was well received by the community. And last year we cleaned up around the gazebo in Miller Park and planted 40 boxwoods and flowers, as well as maintain the flower beds around the horse sculptures. We're all aware that the downtown area is one of the key points on the surveys that citizens have indicated they'd like to see improved, and this could be a first step towards that goal. The Garden Club would plant and maintain the planters based on the expertise of several master gardeners within our group, as well as a lot of willing hands and hearts of the club members to do the work. You'll see on the documents in front of you that these planters are self-watering. They've got a 24-gallon capacity, which means they'd only have to be watered once a month, and depending on the weather, maybe every 6 weeks, which eliminates the headache of trying to water several times a week and sometimes daily. So it would be a real asset to the community, we think. We've communicated with the city staff, and it's our understanding that Jay has a large portable water tank that they can utilize that makes this project doable. We did explore the possibility of hanging baskets on the poles, but they require too much maintenance, and since there's no way to obtain large reservoirs needed for the less frequent watering, we'd like to suggest maybe a large colorful banner on several of the poles, which would add color and beauty to the downtown as well. We are aware of the fact that communication and approval needs to come from the owners and tenants before proceeding, unless we put it on the city right-of-way. But we wanted to bring this idea before you for consideration to allow time for planters to be ordered and shipped once that approval is met. Sue, did you have anything you wanted to mention?
I'm Sue Wasson. I'm immediate past president of the Garden Club. Last year, we've been together about 4 years. So we stayed together 2 or 3 years just to get the cohesiveness of the group. Last year, we came together with officers and then a more point person to so we could actually get things done. And it was very, very successful. Our goal and our approach is to make good, solid steps that are doable and maintainable, and then move forward. There are about 40 people on our Garden Club email list. There's about probably a quarter of those that are steadfast and that are show up for work. So, yeah, it's a good, we will do what we say we'll do. And the planters are just another, the next step in our partnership, yes, with the city, and just wanting to add a little bit of love back to the community.
And I do have to say that we are collaborating also. We've collaborated with the city, and we've worked with Jay along the way, and he's given us some helpful tips on, and Lenexa, yes. We also are collaborating with the DeSoto High School Environmental Club, and so they're helping us out. If you have seen any of the peace polls down in Miller Park, they helped with that, along with Sue was helping with that too. We're also working with the Girl Scouts in DeSoto. So we've developed quite a few partnerships in the last 4 years.
We've also been working with the city of Lenexa for advice. Suzanne and, his name escapes me. He was in charge of the planters there in the city of Lenexa, and he gave me advice on what they did that they wish they had done differently. So they're really regretting they did not go with the water reservoirs. Yes. So that's a huge resource,
We've done our research.
Yes.
So to understand, they ask, you're looking for a city donation to help you with the purchase of the planters and then,
To purchase the planters
and then
and the
to-
plants.
and the plants?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We're, like she said, we're a small group. We
Yeah.
don't have the resources to do that, but we're willing to plant them and maintain them, and with the expertise of our master gardeners, on the soil
Is it- Was
as
there,
well.
so I have the plant, was there a budget for the plants as well? Did I get?
I think we had said around $500 for
$500.
plants,
Plants
soil.
and the planter and the soil, right? Because the planters are 400. So you're thinking 100 with the, no, no? Okay. So to be determined on
Okay.
that.
Step
But-
one's to get the planters ordered.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you would come back with a budget for.
When we come, I assume we'll have to come back for the consent agenda to get this approved, or can we do that tonight?
Well, I don't, it's up to this body right here. So I
Okay.
get questions from council. I mean, well, let's go ahead and just manage.
So is this part of our budget of contributions that we?
I think it
Is
could
that where
be
this
come
would
out
come
of
from?
charitable
Charitable
contributions.
Yeah, sort of good.
Yeah.
So it sounds like $3,000 or so would be, what, 4 of them at 600 apiece plus
Planting.
tax
It could
plus-
also be kind of a first step toward a downtown project.
Beautification.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That, but, yeah, easily from the
From the
donation.
donation. What is our total for that? So we don't.
Man, I was hoping you wouldn't ask.
Brandon knows. He has.
Just so we don't eat it all.
Used to have it up the top of my head.
Yeah, hello, sorry.
But get all your papers out.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Weird being on this side. The budget is $10,000 in total, but there is about $5,000 allocated to various organizations that we are members of. However, that line item is in the general fund, so there would be no issue with overspending that particular line item in the general fund.
We usually underrun that.
Yeah.
We always keep a tally, you know, each year. The Sportsman's Club is a
Mhm.
regular, and we typically don't spend a lot. Usually underrun that in $10,000.
So what do you
want a
need?
motion for a contribution suggestion?
Sure. If
I'll make a motion to contribute $3,000 to the Garden Club to support the purchase of 4 outdoor planters and planting material to put in.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Edgar.
Lane,
Yes.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Tripp,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hannah Michael.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, Councilman, we appreciate it.
Anyone else under call to public?
So Dennis and I moved here in 1980. And I just would like to tell everyone on the city council how proud I am of living in the city of DeSoto, where the mayor can sing to his constituents at Christmas time, a beautiful song that he made, where you consider that art is important, and that was my life. I'm a retired art teacher from Shawnee Mission School District, and at present, I'm a member of DAC and a past president. And right now, the 3 things that I've got going with the youth art that warms my heart are, I have several students now that come to the DeSoto Art Council room, which is being redone, and now we're going to the senior center. And they are homeschool art students that wouldn't be able to have an art teacher like myself if you didn't have that available to them. We also are working with a high school with Tim Mispagel, as you know, for the sculpture. And next month, for the first time, we're going to work the DAC and go with the preschoolers and present them a lesson for their first time of working with the community and the community members. So I want you to know we're starting with those little preschoolers now. And thank you so much for all you do.
Oh, thank you. And Edgar, for the record, we didn't ask Diane to give her name and address for this. Diane's Wallen. And
Do I need to give my address? At 28?
go ahead and give your address.
I will. Oh, I do remember it. 28118 West 88th Circle. Of course, it's just.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else under call to public? All right, I'm not seeing any takers, so we'll move on in our agenda. Item 3 is old business, and we don't have any, so we'll go to item 4A, consider revisions to the property tax relief program.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is, as we get to the 2025 Property Tax Relief Program, which will start later on this month, we have gotten some lessons learned through our pilot program, which was done in 2024. Mayor, I know that this is kind of a long night, so I do have a PowerPoint that I could walk you through that would kind of give the history of the program, or I could just walk through the agenda item, whichever one you like.
Folks, would you like to see the PowerPoint or the agenda item? I'm good with just the agenda item.
Perfect.
We can do a follow-up with the PowerPoint as we recap the success of this year's program.
Perfect. That was my preferred method, but I wanted to make sure that you guys had the history. So as we start the 2025 program, we did have some lessons learned and kind of met with some of our peer communities. At last check, there are about 11 programs in Johnson County that have some kind of property tax relief program or rebate throughout the county. There's now a group of us that have gotten together, and as I've met with our other groups, I'm trying to standardize our program to fall in line with some of the other programs in the county. So there are a couple different proposed revisions that we're proposing today. One being that the applicants be a resident for 1 year. This would ensure that the residents are getting a rebate on the property taxes that they have paid, because we are refunding previous year's taxes. Another one is the criteria that we have removed the minimum household value of it. This is kind of a conversation we had with Miriam, one of the revisions that the rest of the county has made. The idea is that a homeowner may have lived in the community for multiple years, and through no fault of their own, their house may have appreciated above that minimum threshold, that median threshold, and their income may have not kept up with that amount. So we wanted to remove that to allow them to be able to get that rebate. And then the final one is the reconsideration period. This is just a way for us to spin down any remaining balance. One example we ran into last year was we had a applicant that missed the income threshold, which is set by HUD, by about $300, which is less than the amount that they would have had if they had gotten their property taxes rebated. The reason why they were above that threshold was, unfortunately, they had to withdraw some money from their retirement account to pay for some medical expenses. They're a cancer patient. And so we wanted to be able to have that flexibility to come back to you should there be excess funds at the end of the program year, to allow you to have considerations for special cases. So with that, Mayor, I will stand for any questions.
All right. Questions? Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, one question. I saw that for phase 1, you have the removal of the median home value for applicants over the age of 65 and disabled veterans.
Mm.
But then in phase 2, it's kept the median home value in, and I was
Oh,
wondering
yeah.
if that was intentional or unintentional.
Nope, that was a typo. I apologize. I'll
No
make that
worries.
revision. Yeah.
I was gonna ask about the thought there, but
Yeah, no, that is a
it's right
typo.
in both
Yep.
places. And I think need to carry down to that phase also the 1-year residency.
Got it.
Just to capture that.
Got it.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts from?
I guess the one other question I had was around the maximum rebate
Mhm.
amount. I know we kind of, I think if I remember right, we based that a little bit around the median home value and then what that, close to covering
Yeah.
that property tax amount would be. Do you think that with removing the median home value, is there need to revisit that maximum limit at all?
So the maximum limit is kind of a two-pronged decision. The first being the median household value, but the other piece of it is the IRS sets a threshold of $600 before we'd have to issue a report to the IRS, and so we wanted to make sure we were underneath that in case there was a refund on a water bill or something like that. The idea is we don't want to be taxed on a rebate for property taxes. And so that's kind of something we're seeing trickle throughout the county is that $500 threshold. Johnson County has set that up, and also Shawnee has just added that limit because they ran into an issue along those lines.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
I got a question.
Certainly, go ahead.
How many participants on the first year did you have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we had 55 applications that were approved, and the average rebate was $453. And we expended 98% of the funding, which was significantly higher than our peers that we were looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, the only thought I had was with the success of the first year, would we want to throw like a contingency or like a 10% reserve, you know, in this, like, so we are at 25,000, we want to set aside another $2,500 in case it becomes wildly successful this year and we get applications for 150% of what we have or something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, opportunity to slightly increase the program, assuming we might get bigger uptake, I don't know.
One of the things I was going to suggest, and we had such a flood of applicants last year. I think we had 55 applications, and I think we received 40 of them in the first week. So we spent a lot of time processing those applications. One of the things I was going to recommend and what I was going to do throughout the year is if we do expend funds, I would come back to you with a request for a certain dollar amount throughout the year. So our program ends December 1st. And I would come back to you as we've expended all of the funds. So let's say in September we've expended $25,000. I'd bring an agenda item asking for additional funding.
Because I think we're going to be more successful this year. I think it's going to be more popular in the community than it was last year.
Yeah, we're already receiving phone calls. As soon as February rolled around, my phone started ringing, people asking about it. I think as they're finishing their taxes, they're now looking at the property tax rebate program.
Okay.
And when will we open the program? And I apologize.
Oh no, April 22nd is our first day of the program.
The disabled veteran part, that's at 100% right now. Is there any thoughts of lowering that percentage? I know a lot of disabled vets, and getting to 100% is very difficult, even though they might deserve 100%. So.
It's something we could certainly look at. Yeah,
I know like the state, they're at 50%.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying lower it to 50%, but just a thought of lowering that percentage.
I had not thought about that, but we certainly could. I could touch base with you after the meeting if you wanted to make that revision.
Okay. Any other comments? So, the item before us is, would be approved the tax proposed revisions. What about these potential ones? Do you want to bring it back? You want to try and?
Yeah, I think that might make sense. So what I could do is I think
might be able to bring it back as a.
Yeah, I see Mike has made some revisions for me. I appreciate that. Line iteming it. We could certainly look at that and come back to you at the next city council meeting or maybe the first meeting in April.
Okay. We just, as long as we get it complete before the 22nd.
Yes, exactly.
That's our hard deadline.
Unless, I mean, Victoria, do you have a recommendation on that adjustment so that we could, get it?
So I will say with like the state, because I was looking at this, the state is 50% and you have to be at that disability percentage for at least a year.
Mhm.
So you could add that in there too.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to go as low as 50%. I don't know if we could handle that many applicants. Maybe like 70 or 80% to start out with, and we could see how many more we get.
And the percentages on how your disability was created, right?
Yeah. At least that's my
Well, so you
understanding.
get
of it.
like a rating and it all.
Who gives the rating?
The VA.
Yeah, so-
Yeah.
Okay, so the VA will give you a rating and you could get like 10% here, 10% here, but really.
Okay, so that we're not
It's your
just
total.
Yeah, it's taking, it would be
No,
submitting a.
they
Yeah.
have like a
Okay.
piece of paper
Yeah, there's-
that tells them what their percentage is and when they were given that date.
Yeah, there's a form that they submit. I will say, we didn't receive any applications from disabled veterans, at least that submitted it. Maybe they qualified based on income, but I didn't receive any VA disability forms during the last year program.
I mean, if the state level is 50%, I mean.
I'm all for going down to 50%, I just didn't know. I thought we had maybe some this time around, but.
Was that part advertised also, that veterans disability?
Yes, yeah, it was included on the website and the materials that it was out
I
there.
just didn't know how many more people would,
I mean, that opens it up.
yeah, how many more people that opened it up to and if we could.
They may already be
handle that
captured
many?
on the income level.
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the state, it does the income, the house value,
Mhm.
how long you've been at that resident and how long you've had that disability percentage.
Yeah, we could certainly look at it. Every program in the county is different. Everyone has their own little wrinkles. And so I have no problem with making that revision.
Okay. I think most, like, counties too, they're like 50%. And most states are like 50%.
Okay. Yeah, so I can
Definitely
certainly,
hit more legals there.
Are we good with taking a motion on it?
I mean, I appreciate Mike capturing it. We could certainly do that. Yeah, with the suggested changes, we could certainly do that.
Yeah, just capture the edits that you noted and then the revision of the,
All right. I'm make a motion to approve the revisions to the property tax relief fund, including striking the minimum home value from phase 2, as well as adding the 1-year residency to phase 2, and lowering the military disability requirement to 50%.
okay? Do we have a
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Edgar, did you get the motion? You want me?
Yes, I got it.
All right, any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Tripp,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
McMorrin.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Brandon. Item B, consider contract renewal with HDR for on-call services.
Yep.
Joe?
Thank you. Yeah, so we are under contract with HDR to do on-call engineering services. We renewed their on-call last December in the amount of $50,000. They did a really good job in managing the task and their budget. Generally, if you're reading this, it's about a 6 month is what they anticipate, but we're able to extend it beyond a year. So here tonight, we're asking for to renew that on-call contract, amount of $50,000. And we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Joe on the on-call contract? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve engineering agreement task 4 in the amount of $50,000 funded through the city's general budget under engineering services with HDR.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane.
Yes.
McMorrin.
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Tripp,
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item C, consider ordinance 2643 authorizing the issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds for ARP Real Estate LLC project.
Yes, council, you previously approved this 10-year 50% tax abatement on $5,300,000 in IRB bonds. The action tonight is a final step in issuing those bonds. The project is complete, so we're at the point where the bonds will be issued. So, as indicated in the memo, city's credit rating is not affected and no city funds are being incurred as part of the action.
All right, any questions for Patrick on this item? Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance 2643 for issuance of $5,300,000 in industrial revenue bonds for ARB real estate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Tripp,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item D, consider resolution 2060 establishing a reinvestment housing incentive district for Flint Meadows.
Mayor, I will recuse myself.
Okay.
from this one.
Hey, Gilbert, you note that Councilman Hanamichael's left the meeting for this item.
Correct. Council, I would just note, the action before you tonight is simply to call a public hearing on the plan that has been submitted by the applicant. The plan was attached to my memo in the packet. So it's that plan that you will be considering at the public hearing. And that public hearing will be April 17th, 2025. So I think we do have representatives of the applicant here. I don't know if you have any questions, but really this is just about scheduling the public hearing.
So the, essentially the plan will be presented to the public at the public hearing and then opportunity for comment
Well,
would be
the
in that.
public's being told that there's a plan on file with the city,
Okay.
and that's the one that the applicant submitted. But yes, so if members of the public wanted to come in and get a copy of the plan, they'd be entitled to do that. But at the public hearing, that's where the plan will be officially considered by the city. And you'll have an option at that point to decide, do you want to adopt that plan as the city's plan? Do you want to adopt some variation of it?
Okay. Questions for Patrick?
It's a hard copy.
Thank you.
I can't find the item in the, on the drive folder.
I couldn't either.
But this is just calling a public hearing, no other action, and
Correct.
public will have comment at the hearing, and we'll then have a potential item later in the agenda on that.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Patrick, if you could, I don't know if you have that.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Okay, here's one too. This is the one.
and this was previously brought for discussion, as far as just discussion.
So, yeah, the incentive request was introduced at a prior
Has
meeting.
anything changed from the discussion, Mike?
No, the incentive, at the time, the request was a 75% RHID for 15 years. And that's still what the request is.
So nothing from our discussions changed. This is just calling the public hearing, which would give the public an opportunity, and then we would have further discussion at that point.
That's correct.
So-
And this also, the applicant has also been to the school board to give a presentation to them. Like a TIF on an RHID, the school board has a veto power over that. So our process is we want a full accounting of that to the school board. The board policy is they don't make a recommendation, they don't give, a seal of approval at that time, but their process is that the school administration staff works an analysis on their financial impacts, and that is what's going on now. We haven't seen the result of that yet, but we've seen previous version. So yeah, you're correct. The project plan is attached. It's in the packet. It is much the same as they discussed before. The general intensity of the development, single family and attached family residential, 216 units on roughly 80 acres. We've seen preliminary plat layouts. They're coming with a preliminary plat application. Brad, is that this month to the Planning Commission?
Yes, it'll be on the 25th of January.
Yeah, so they're proceeding with the planning documents as well.
Did you say 70? And then this says 60? 70 is there. Okay, I read the wrong place. Okay.
I did that too.
I did that. Yeah, it said 60 down here, and that's what I read, and then, okay.
And that's where I was just trying to make clear for council, because I mean, it's a stack of papers, but we've discussed most of it already as far as the preliminary discussion. It's just the hearing, and then we have the public. So with that, I'm willing to make a motion if there's no other discussion.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2060, scheduling a public hearing on the project for Flint Meadows RHID for April 17th, 2025.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tripp,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
McMorrin,
Yes.
Lane. Motion carries.
All right.
That's why I was trying to do this.
Item E, consider ordinance 2644 approving a text amendment for the R1A zoning district.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. This has been a bit of a journey that the Planning Commission has been on, and we've talked about reducing the lot size from 65 feet to 50 feet, pardon me. And through this process, we were really focusing on the R2 and the R3 district because that's where we've had a lot of activity. And I do apologize, I didn't realize that in our code, we have a R1A district. There's no R1A zoning in the entire city, and there hasn't been at least as long as I've been in DeSoto. But upon reviewing our code, we saw this discrepancy with the R3 where we went through the process to reduce the lot width to 50 feet and recognized that it really ought to be consistent. So if a developer wanted to focus solely on single family homes, they didn't have to go for an R2 zoning district. They could just apply for the R1A district and reduce that potential lot size width to 50 feet. There's also a provision in the R1A code about an open space requirement or a opportunity if they have a recreation feature or some sort of open space that they could reduce that lot size by 10%, a little bit, not quite 10%, it's from 6,000 to 5,500 square feet. So we went through the process of a text amendment with the Planning Commission and had a lot of discussion. It actually took us about 3 meetings to get through all this. So the highlighted changes or the reduction in the R1A are to remove the 7,500 square foot requirement, reduce that to 6,000, and then if they want to have the 5,500 utilizing the open space dedication, that's an opportunity for the developer as well. So the lot size will be reduced to 50 foot wide. The size of the principal structure and accessory structures can be increased to 40 because we're reducing the lot size. So we need to allow them to make a little bit bigger home, or maybe not even a bigger home, but because we have 1,100 square foot requirement, it takes up more space to meet that smaller lot size. And then of course, we also just had a lot of discussion about whether or not the detention areas can be included in the open space requirement. And one thing that came up was we want to make sure that the developer didn't put a recreational feature within the drainage basin itself. So we had to scrub that language a little bit. So therefore, the changes that you see in red are what would be potentially adopted by the council. So with that, I will stand for any questions you may have.
All right. Questions from council?
So a couple things. I asked him to at least bring it back up for discussion, not necessarily make a decision, but to discuss it. I appreciate them doing that. I attended 2 out of the 3 meetings where they discussed it, and it was discussion, so which is good. to have those type discussions. What was and like I say, I very much appreciate that. What was the Plan Commission's final recommendation as far as bringing the text amendment forward? Did they take a vote on it?
Yeah, it was approved. As I recall, it was 4-3 as far as the recommending approval to the council. The dissenters had different reasons for Commissioner or Chairman Templin didn't think that the reduction in lot size width was going to reflect any cost differential or savings to the potential buyers. And for the other commissioners, I think Commissioner Lane and Commissioner Schultz just thought that had some reservations about the smaller lot size in general. So those were the dissenting opinions, but the others felt that it was a benefit to be consistent across the board and thought that would help reduce costs overall for future home buyers, single-family home buyers in DeSoto. The other thing also was if a developer wanted to, like I said, specifically focus on single-family, they could go to the Planning Commission for a rezoning of the R1A and not have to go for an R2 or an R3, which is a little more challenging. There's a little more, just the change to potential having duplexes. A lot of people don't like that. So that was the other reason for doing the R1A.
That was my point in asking them to do it, was to give the neighbors the assurance that going. When you go to the meeting and you're going to an R2 zoning or R3 and say, yeah, but I'm only doing this so I can put smaller single-family lots on, that promise may or may not be kept by the guy that ultimately develops that property. And with this, you have the assurance that it will be a single-family development, detached single-family, and so those promises made during zoning, will be kept as an adjacent property owner. So that's why it was important to me that it would be consistent and to give just that. I think it's also important that the smaller lot sizes I agree with, because it allows you to more densely develop those parts of the property that are more suitable for development, and maybe not try and force a larger lot development all over the site just to get the lot yield that you need to make the project profitable. You can densely develop the land that makes sense to develop and leave the other areas alone and still get have a profitable project and get the density you need to make the project work.
Yeah, a prime example of where this came up was the Grotto project.
That is correct.
When I was sitting down talking with the residents, they were okay with the single family, but when it came to being R2, where if the developer didn't follow through and it was sold, then it could be duplexes. It was that reassurance that they wanted, very much so, and came from the residents on that side.
Any other thoughts, questions? We're ready for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the text amendment for R1A moderate residential district as recommended by the Planning Commission and as presented tonight.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Hannah Michael?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Tripp?
Yes.
McMorrin?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor as well.
Mayor, yes. Walker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Item F, discuss capital improvement plan update.
Yes, council, this is the fun stuff, right? We've talked about the plan to roll into this discussion. We had the discussion last month about the excess general fund balance that carried over from last year with the conclusion that there appears to be somewhere around $1.5 or $1.8 million there that we had not expected. We had the discussion about what, if anything, to do with that. One of the things that we could do is roll that straight over into the capital improvement plan. But in the end of that discussion, we paused it because we wanted to incorporate that, I think, into a larger discussion about the CIP. So here we are. The intent of tonight is really kind of twofold. First, to do a reset on the CIP fund balance, to get a good firm idea where that stands and how much we have to work with, and then also to kind of get your consent and just get everybody's knowledge about what my thought about the process is going to be, because I think this is going to take several months to get through. I don't think this is something that we just want to talk about here at the council level. I think we wanted to extend it to a community conversation at some point, certainly involve staff, involve planning commission, park board, just involve others. So, but we do kind of have a deadline. I've always thought that we need to get this taken care of, at least in large part, before we finalize the budget for 26. I'd like to have certain facets of it nailed down as we go into starting that process, which really kind of, Brandon, you're working on that budget schedule where we'll start in May, I assume, or April, or have we started yet? In April, we'll start that in April.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the intent of tonight. So what was in your packet is really a rework of this silly spreadsheet that'll scramble your brain if you look at it too long. I've never been too happy. It's the same format as our 5-year budget projection of all the funds. So all this is a 5-year budget projection for the capital improvement fund. But intermingled with it is all the Panasonic work. We've got $119 million worth of Panasonic funded projects that we are implementing. And so those funds hit the CIP and they go out of the CIP. And they've been tied into the fund balance. So we've got this CIP fund balance of $60 million last year and $60 million next year. That's all we'll spend all that money in the next year and a half or 2 years. So what do we really have to work with? The conclusion is about $4 million. $4 million that's in the CIP now that is, I wouldn't say free and clear, but it does include a $7.2 million bond issue this year, largely to pay for city hall improvements, but we could attribute that to some others. So that fund balance includes that, but we've also included the debt service for that in this year's budget, so that the mill levy for the debt service for that $7.2 million is already incorporated into our budget, even though we haven't made any decision to actually go out and do that or to issue those bonds. So it's baked in already. So when I say it's $4 million that just hasn't been appropriated, it does include that. So that's just boiler water. There's nobody doing any work upstairs. This noise we're hearing.
There was a squirrel loose upstairs earlier, though.
Oh,
it could be our
you didn't
squirrel.
I thought you said you took care of that.
I know.
Well, it's in the mayor's duties. We could look it up in the code.
Okay, yeah, probably. Yeah, all those other items. Yeah. I'm thinking that's the darn squirrel. Though.
Could be the squirrel. We'll have to name him now. Okay, so
Sorry.
This spreadsheet, I don't intend to zoom in or really track a whole bunch of this tonight unless we want to. But this is a reformatting of what's been in the budget document. What I think you've seen before. There are a number of projects that are already programmed in here. Some of which we're already doing. City Hall remodel being one. Some of them we're in the middle of. But what I've done is I've taken all the Panasonic stuff out and I've put it in a completely separate spreadsheet, on that last page of Exhibit A. So it's $119 million here, in and out. So it's, we're worried about it because remember in previous discussions about capital improvements, we haven't programmed much here last year, this year, and not even really much for next year yet. Because we knew Joe would be very busy implementing everything, and that's going to continue throughout the end of this year and well into next year with being very busy. So we know we have that to consider. So also in the packet, there's some language, just the narrative description of the capital improvement fund that's in the 2025 budget. So there's descriptions of what the revenues are. Descriptions of what we'll be doing, and then the rest of the packet, Exhibit C, is feedback from city staff that I've received, the laundry list of projects and initiatives that we might want to consider in this process. And so these came from department heads. I don't think the community center is in here, so that's one that comes to mind. We need to get that rolled in here. But some of it's park board stuff, a lot of it's Joe's stuff, and some other things. What we've tried to have staff do is submit stuff that is, first of all, one-time projects, not necessarily ongoing, like say the road maintenance program used to be in the capital improvements, and then we put it over in the annual budget because it's an ongoing program to be in the annual budget. So it's anything above $50,000 we've kind of used as a threshold. So there's just a number of these proposed projects that I've put in there. The other thing that I did today is I uploaded this last item here, map link and schedule for the 25 CIP. I didn't get this done in time for the packet last week, but I just put this in here today. There's this Google map. If you click on here, it takes you to this Google Earth map, and I hope this works for everybody. I think it will. And what I've done is I've just mapped out all of the projects that have been proposed in this document. And you can click, let's see this table of contents here. You can click on the table of contents for any one and get a little more detail. Some of these have a lot more detail than others in this pop-up box. So hopefully you'll be able to navigate that and kind of go to some of these. Some of them have a lot more detail. Water Tower project here has a link to the staff memo that we did, when we authorized the project. So this will kind of be a way to graphically represent what we're doing. Some stuff doesn't really fit on the map graphically, but supporting documents will be linked here, so it'll kind of all be in one place as we step through. This is just, for your information. If you need additional background on some of these projects, it'll be there. I'm not done with this. I've got all the projects there. They're at least placeholders, pins on the map, placeholders. But a lot of this background document, I'll be filling that in as we go along. And then the last thing I wanted to just kind of talk about is this schedule. So this is just my idea about how this will unfold in the time we have to do it. February, already described what we've done so far. For this month, presenting it here, just the presentation of the projects. I'd like to get your input on ideas about, any of the projects already on the list or new projects that you'd want to submit. April and May, I think, are going to be the bulk of the work being done, especially by staff, to redefine the project scopes, prioritize the projects, and look for, identify funding sources for them. Council will have 2 workshops. I'm thinking a couple of workshops. Check your calendar, see if this works. April 17th, these are both council meeting nights. So April 17th and May 15th. Yeah, as a suggestion, we may have the workshop kind of like we did here tonight, have about an hour before the meeting where we could just focus on this. Or I guess depending on the agenda length, we could have it on an agenda item if we find that one of these meeting dates will be light. So check your calendars for those 2 days. If those don't work, we can slide them. We can figure that out. But a couple of work sessions with the council. The intent there is to kind of get council's ideas about prioritization of projects. And then that'll set up for June. That would be really the focus on public input. So first of all, the communications outreach, e-news, social media, postings, things like that to get the word out. An open house, at least one, I'm thinking, open house for the public. And then in June, we'll have a specific council agenda items. And then that'll kind of set us up for July and August, where we're finalizing the plan and then getting it incorporated into the 26 budget. So, those are just my ideas. There's no pride in ownership, so if anybody has better ones, I'm sure there are better ones out there. So, I'll stop there.
I think the schedule, that was kind of where I was going. If we had a schedule laid out, which I hadn't seen yet, so I'm glad you started that. I think definitely we need to be done by that August meeting, so I don't know that there's a lot of wiggle room that we have in that timeline. Thoughts from council?
was gonna send the timeline, May 15th. I'm not sure what that week's gonna hold for me because that's graduation weekend.
Oh,
So that probably means family members in town.
it's your last one, huh?
Last one.
Last
Last of 4. So, I mean, making the council meeting may work. Having an extended one, I'm not sure, just because
Okay.
I don't know what the plans are yet for graduation weekend.
Okay.
All right, any other thoughts? Courtney, anything?
No, I think timeline works and makes a lot of sense. The squirrel is angry. Did you want some feedback on projects as well,
Yes,
or do we want to talk
absolutely.
timeline
Sure.
only at this point?
Yeah.
Just knowing that we just selected a consultant on the Riverfest master plan, I think potentially starting to look at, okay, do we put a phase, even though phase 1 is going to be a nebulous concept for a few more months yet, do we start to pencil in some of those phases into the plan?
Yeah, okay.
Even
The
if
park
it
board
is-
has quite a bit, but obviously it would be, as a new master plan gets developed, that all changes. There's quite a bit on the park board's list
Yeah,
that had to do with future improvements at Riverfest.
Yeah.
So that
Kind
goes
of,
right along with that.
You know, kind of capturing that there will be a master plan and then, you know, some
Yeah.
execution
Placeholder.
aspect of it.
Good.
Is there anything about 83rd Street on there?
Yeah, it's broken into 3 phases, like the corridor study showed, about 20 million each phase. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And it would just be the implementation of that, and I think there's room to further drill down on
Probably
that.
so.
You know, do just this intersection, just that part, probably, but for now, it's in there.
Comment I had, you know, this is really focusing on 26 and the out years. That's this whole process, and you know, you've got the 2025 ones in there, and then some of the project wish list is stuff that didn't get done in 24, and some of the things that have been in there for 25 are cans that got kicked down the road from previous years. So, I guess in thinking all this through, are you feeling good about our ability to execute those that are on the 2025 plan within the time frame that's anticipated?
Good. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a good question. Yeah, the one. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer for that just yet.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can, because with some of those things that, you know, whether it was the sign or the pavilion out at the park or some of those, or downtown master plan is something that's a can that gets kicked down the road every year for the last 5 years. You know, just being sure that as we set this out and as we think ahead down the road, let's knock out 2025 like we've set it out and budgeted it, so that it doesn't compound things in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that sparks a question for me. I mean, we all know the amount of work and growth happening here is unprecedented, but then the question is in the back of my mind is, you know, is there any even temporary staff or support that we need to look at alongside some of these COP projects to ensure that we're setting ourselves up to be able to not only plan for the projects but be able to execute them? You know, like, is that thought exercise worth having?
That's an aspect of capital improvement planning we have never considered, because we've never had more money than, you know, enough money to spend. You know, and maybe that's a good thing to think about. Can we deliver on this? What's the staff load looking like?
Well, I think one of the ways that you have considered those with the on-call contracts.
Yeah.
In a variety of uses, and it's just being sure that you're using those when you need them to make sure, you know. Joe's not giving any eye contact over there.
No, it's
I'm looking at the CIP.
Yeah, no eye contact.
No, but even, you know, some of those line items may need adjusted if we're saying, okay, we're gonna do X in the CIP and we know we're gonna need on-call services or additional support to do them. Just a thought as we try and think of how to tackle the scope of work.
Any other thoughts, comments?
Okay, we'll keep going. Yeah, have a look at that. Have a look at that map. Let me know if you have any questions on that or any proposed projects to add. Again, there's several things that aren't on the map. The community center is one. I don't want to put it in a pin on any map anywhere. So things like that you might not see there.
Are you
Okay.
gonna keep this thing up for us as you change it?
It'll that same link you'll see when I update stuff. It'll be on there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. No executive session? So we will go to advisory reports. Mike, carry on.
Yeah. Does everybody know Edgar Marquez? Does everybody know Edgar? He is here tonight as a trial run because Brandon and his wife are due with their first child on March 21st. Had an appointment today. All looks good. On schedule, on time. That's good. So Brandon might be absent for a few council meetings. So Edgar is filling in that capacity. So great. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew Edgar. Chamber dinner tomorrow night. We're not going to forget to go to the chamber dinner. It's still on, isn't it, Tim?
Unless it snows, right?
Yeah, unless it snows.
We'll still have it because,
Oh.
yeah.
All right, good.
Snow or no?
And then the last thing, Channel 41 out of Kansas City is focusing on DeSoto. They have 3 reporters assigned to DeSoto, and they're doing a story each Thursday. They're doing a story just about DeSoto. They interviewed Brandon on the community center study that's being wrapped up now. He did a great job. The interview lasted an hour and a half, and the soundbite was 10 seconds. That's how it works. So good job on that. So it looks like it's going to be a regular thing. I don't know how long they might just do that for years and not run out of stuff. So I thought, but the coverage has been, very positive. The bent is not, it's very positive coverage. So very happy with that. So,
all right.
And that was all I had.
Thank you, Mike. Patrick?
Yeah, just wanted to share a little good news. No baby on the way for me. So, and it does require a little bit of explanation. So, Mike and I came to the city in year 2000, and as Mike can attest,
Boy, excellent. It's going way back.
Seems like for the entire time we've been here, we've been on a full court press to secure the city's right to water right 38. So when the Army initially got a water right, got 2 water rights, back in the 40s, they were assigned rights number 37 and 38. So very, very senior water rights. I mean, now the DWR is issuing water rights in the thousands. So we've always viewed, particularly water right 38, as something we wanted to preserve. And, it included, in 2011, we had to file a lawsuit against DWR and Sunflower. That lawsuit was settled by splitting water right 38, half to Sunflower and the other title holders out there, half to the city. Of course, in 2012 and before, we were using our portion of water right 38. Sunflower was not, really because they couldn't. So unfortunately, DWR determined that the half of water right 38 that Sunflower has, they were given as part of the settlement of the lawsuit, has been abandoned. And that was under review, and we've been in discussion with Nathan Westrup. He's the guy that was doing the review to determine if there was due and sufficient cause for non-use. Well, we just learned that he found there was due and sufficient cause, so that half of the water right of 38 has been preserved, and under, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the negotiations with Sunflower, we're entitled to get that second half of the water right. So we just learned that last week, so a bit of good news. So
It's only 24 years, it only took 24 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of work, involved with that, yeah.
that's all I have.
So was that transfer of SRL to us, or was that it was abandoned, so we just were able to claim it?
No, they still have to transfer
Okay.
to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so technically, today, it's still under their name.
Okay.
It,
When they sign the development agreement, it
right,
will be.
yeah, transferred to us, yeah. And that's why we, Douglas Haney, a couple meetings ago, we retained him to apply for new water rights because we were getting a little nervous that if we didn't have Right 38, that second half would be in a tight spot, not being able to provide water to Panasonic, on our deadline. So now, obviously, we don't need new water rights since we got that 38, so.
All right. Good deal. Thank you.
Yep.
Brad, anything for the council tonight?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
All right. Joe?
Probably the only thing here, probably in a couple of weeks, you'll start seeing some activity out of Lexington at the Commerce and the off-ramp for K10. So Clarkson is getting ready to get the process to start installing the permanent traffic signals.
Traffic signals.
Yes.
All right. Good deal.
So don't be surprised when you start seeing trucks show up. And, but yeah, they should be starting here in a couple of weeks.
All right. Question for you on the 15-minute parking signs that we talked about downtown. All that. Have you advanced that at all, or do you need an email from me?
We do have those. I think what's left is an ordinance to be able to install them. But yeah, we're ready to be able to. We have them at our shop to be able to
All
install
right.
them.
So let's get that on the next meeting so we can get those placed. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
That's it.
Brandon, anything from the Assistant City Administrator?
Just real quick, first of all, I want to thank Edgar again. Appreciate that. And Mike for his kind words. The State of the County is April 8th. I'm going to send you guys an email. It is a different format. It's from 4 to 6 p.m. I'm at the Overland Park Regional Convention Center. I'll get that out to you, but I need to talk to Tim because I'm a little confused on the timeline. Historically, it's been kind of a lunch, but my understanding it's more of a networking event. So I'll make sure that you guys all get the invitation and get that information sent to you. But outside of that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brandon. Council comments. Danny, anything for the group?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
All right, Victoria?
Nothing.
Rob?
Just one thing, March 20th, the next council meeting is over spring break. And one of my kids wants to go to my parents' place in Arkansas, so we're going down there with him. So I will be attending, just remote.
Okay.
That's no fun.
Courtney?
Also going to be on spring break. Unsure if I'll be remote. We'll be at Zion National Park, so we'll
That's real
depend
remote,
on
yeah.
depend on access. We'll try to join, but if I join, I'll be remote.
All right, thank you. Kevin?
Nothing.
Gosh, my mind's a blank, so I guess I got nothing tonight.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
All opposed, we're adjourned. Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.